the bush. You threw the investigation on me. You put the police on me. And you did it on purpose, man. It just backfired, bro. It backfired. And I don't care. I don't want no friend. Matter of fact, look, if any be around me, they're watching the interview, and you didn't listen, I'm telling y'all now, stay away from me because I'm on 100. And I don't trust none of y'all. And I say that because get what, bro? If the fly come past me the wrong way, boy, I'm destroying all y'all, boy. Because at the end of the day, bro, I'm tired of y'all making me be the foul guy, the responsible person, bro. When y'all know right is right and wrong is wrong, y'all look for any reason to forgive Thug. When Thug about this on himself. They won't care what nobody had to say. They only feel bad because he's losing. When feeling like people, they go to playing hit him. They go to kind of you the reverse side. No, you get on that podcast, talk about on retard. You know not to mention me, man. I ain't everybody else. I ain't gonna just be quiet. Nah, bro. I ain't just gonna sit there and be quiet. DK put his life on the line for you. You know what I mean? Slow up put his life on the line for you. Yeah, gotta put his life on the line for you. Calling it snitch. Hey, bro, let me tell you something, bro. You know Yet lied. You know Yet lied. You know he ain't had nothing to do with what happened. So why you calling Yak a snitch for that? Why you calling Yak a snitch when you know they lie, bro? A snitch is in there go in there and tell the police the truth and get the police a conviction, my nigga. But these niggas lie, bro. But you went in there and said what you said. You want everybody to look at what you said as a lie, but you want everybody to look at everybody else as a snitch. But it hurt being called a snitch. You see how I feel, but you want everybody to still call everybody else a snitch and forgive you. Nah, that you ain't take accountability. I ain't letting it go. I don't care. Y'all who want to forgive him, go forgive him. But let me tell you this, he ain't had no sympathy when he thought he would kill.
What Woody feels in this moment is not simple anger. It is a bruise that sits below the sternum, a kind of injury to the trust muscle. The thing that sets him off is not only that someone acted against him, is the particular way the action touched the places he thought off limits. This is about being exposed, about being put under scrutiny by a force that waits in white shirts and badges for the moment to turn your life inside out. To be investigated is to have the private anatomy of your life, friends, relations, decisions laid bare. And when Woody names names, when he places blame on those he believed were his, what he is really mapping is a geography of disappointment. There is a vocabulary in the streets for this kind of wound. Snitch, the word that burns and clamps down and draws lines in the sand, is not an idle insult. It is a destiny being spoken into being. To be labeled that way is to be rendered suspect, to have old friends' faces shift from warm to wary in the collective moment someone whispers the word. But Woody's rage is not only about a label. It is about the mismatch between sacrifice and gratitude, about the ancient ledger that records who stood in the line of fire and who stepped aside when the bullets came. He tells the story in fits and starts, about men who put their lives on the line, who stood guard while others moved forward or retreated. Names echo in his telling, brothers who risked flesh and breath, who answered calls that, in a different world, would be met with a handshake and a promise. To have those gestures dismissed, to have trust transmuted into accusation, is intolerable. Is less the possibility of being exposed than the fact that men who once would have bled for one another now keep an inventory of slights and excuses. The real pain is that the code seems to bend toward forgiveness for some, but not for all, that the scale tips unevenly and with a cruelty that feels arbitrary. There is a strange economy to loyalty. It is not simply about blood or shared memory. Loyalty asks for risk. It demands that you, in certain moments, choose another's safety over your immediate comfort. That you may be willing to look trouble in the eye and say, "Go ahead, I'll bear the cost." It is the law by which families are made and neighborhoods held together. Woody's fury maps onto that law. He understands the calculus. If you have been covered by brothers, if men have protected you, then you owe them something that is more than words. A casual apology will not suffice. Public betrayal is a wound that requires a public accounting. This moment also reveals how heavily our notions of masculinity are loaded with performative expectation. In certain communities, being a man is shown not with diplomas or titles, but with the steadiness of your spine when trouble comes. You do not flinch, you do not turn your back, you do not leave the ones who once left for you. Masculinity here is not brittle bravado. It is a social contract between people who survive because each stands for the other. When that contract frays, the men who hold it sacred feel disoriented and betrayed. But the story is not only a drama of wounded pride. There are structural forces playing through it too. The carceral state, with its investigators and prosecutors, does not deal in honor. It deals in confessions, in disruptions, in the splitting of communities into suspect and accuser. Criminal investigations do not simply move like weather across neighborhoods. They change incentives. They make silence an asset and speech a liability. They put pressure on relationships that were never designed to be submitted to interrogation rooms or recorded phone calls. In that sense, the police are not only a force that enforces law, they are also an instrument that reshapes the internal grammar of communities, bending the rules of trust under external force. To be targeted, real or perceived, by the authorities carries a double burden. First, there is the immediate risk, the chance of arrest, of time, of being yanked out of the everyday narrative of your life. Second, there is the social fallout, the suspicion, the sudden reorientation of ally to stranger, the erosion of support networks that once felt unbreakable. Woody senses both and responds the only way he knows how, by naming the betrayal and turning his back on the soft mercy he feels his former comrades would extend to others but deny him. Read closely, what he articulates is also an accusation about hypocrisy. He sees a pattern in which others are forgiven, their mistakes folded back into the warm center of the group, while he is left as the cauterized example, both punished and abandoned. There is a cruelty in selective forgiveness. It signals that mercy is a currency that is distributed not by a shared moral economy, but by whim or proximity. No wonder Woody is exhausted. He has been assigned the role of the group's moral whipping post, always the first person to be the face of consequences when things go wrong, and seldom the first to be defended when others are at fault. We must also reckon with the human cost of being asked to keep secrets and to be silent. Secrecy is heavy. It sits in bones, in the way you hold your breath, in the stories you refuse to tell at family tables. Keeping quiet about certain things is a kind of labor that extracts its payment in anxiety, in fractured sleep, in the feeling of watching a world through a pane of glass that you may no longer cross safely. Woody is exhausted by the ask to be the stoic container. He has carried the load and watched the balance shift against him. Beneath the anger is a plea for accountability that is not often offered in public. He does not want gifts or lip service. He wants men who once stood with him to measure themselves against the ledger they once kept. He wants the reciprocity of risk to be honored. In a world in which everyone is on camera and every phone call can leak into public space, that call for honor feels both old and urgent. It recalls a code of conduct that predates the surveillance era. You stand with those who stood with you, and you do not expose them to the machinery of punishment. There is a dignity in that stubbornness, even if it is wrapped in fury. And yet, the anger also reveals fear. Fear is not often admitted, but it is present. The fear of loneliness, of being the only one left to defend a narrative, of having no one to testify to who you were when you mattered most. Woody's talk of having no friends is a defensive posture, is the way men protect themselves when they suspect that their social insurance has been canceled. The mask of the unbothered man is often a fragile thing, and beneath it are all the human desires for solidarity and protection that never leave us. It is useful, too, to place this scene in the broader arc of how communities respond to harm and accountability. There are those who insist on rigid codes as the only source of survival. There are others who argue that sometimes leaving is the healthiest route, cutting ties, seeking amnesty, reconstructing a life elsewhere.